Gen Z is entering the workforce with new perspectives and expectations.
In this podcast, we're here to listen to their stories and experiences, their successes and frustrations, and help employers understand the mindset and perspectives of the up-and-coming workforce.
Employers can't dictate what their young employees find meaningful. What they can do, however, is empower them to create their own sense of purpose and authentic connections.
Our curriculum is designed to help them do exactly that. East Valley Leader Lab is committed to paving the way for more curious, engaged, and connected young professionals in the workplace. Hello, I'm Timm. This is Amanda Stradling. We are East Valley Leader Lab, and this is our podcast, Mind and Body at Work. If our content resonates with you, we hope you'll click on the link in the show notes for a description of our newest offer, Helping Gen Z Thrive at Work. And as always, please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel or wherever it is you get your podcasts. Today, Amanda and I are going to talk about a Tai Chi form and a distinction called Oak and Willow. You want to get us started, Amanda?
Yeah. So Oak and Willow is a really important metaphor for two ways of being, two ways we can show up, two types of energy. The idea comes from kind of the Chinese philosophy of yin and yang, of two balanced opposites. And that's a concept that's used a lot in Tai Chi, right? Hard and soft, inside, outside, forward, backward. You know, everything always kind of has its opposite and its balance. And Tai Chi works with that a lot. And this form in particular is really showing, and if you practice it, it's embodying two different ways of being, like an oak tree or a willow tree, one that stands firm in the storm and one that yields and sways. And both are really kind of a type of strength, an important ability to have, right?
Exactly. And would you say, Amanda, that these are the two main ways of being? I mean, why do we talk so much about these two, Oak and Willow?
It's kind of an oversimplified categorization of many different ways that we're showing up, right?
Okay.
There's so many different types of energy, different moods we can bring into the workplace in our life. But Oak and Willow are two broad, separate ways that we like to talk about it at the Leader Lab.
Kind of a starting point before we branch out into, right, all the different possible flavors and all the different ways of being.
Yeah, it's a great starting point.
Great.
And I like this kind of the metaphor of the different trees, because we all face so much different weather throughout our day and in the workplace. You know, winds, rains, just sort of different things that can push and pull us throughout our day. And so I kind of like to picture, when I need it, standing firm like an oak tree, or being flexible and yielding like a willow tree.
Exactly. Because like all the things we're talking about in our courses, these aren't just concepts. They are distinctions that we hold in our mind and in our body, right?
Yes, and because we hold it in our body, sometimes if you haven't had the training, you're not always aware of how you're showing up, right? Maybe you're showing up oak all the time when it's not necessarily appropriate.
Right.
So this awareness that comes from these classes is really important.
Yep.
Right?
And if you think about, so how do we apply this to the theme and we have this season about young people entering the workforce and helping them thrive? So from an Oak standpoint, the Gen Z has stressors like everybody else in the workplace, and it's totally normal that they're going to feel some anxiety. There are things that management can do about that, but I think one of the things that we want to share is from our perspective, it's not just about management, creating the perfect conditions. It's also about these young people building some capacities, some leadership capacities that they can use. And Oak and Willow, the distinction between Oak and Willow, is one of these capacities, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, do you want to give some examples of how these young people might apply this?
I think kind of the expectation for new workers is that they should always have the capacity to be very willow, right? Like go with the flow, be flexible, you're new here. And I think there's a lot to that. As they're gaining experience, there's so much that they can learn and take in, and they can follow the lead in a lot of areas and gain even more knowledge and experience. So that flexibility, that adaptability as they're meeting new people throughout their career, engaging in different types of conversations in situations they may have not had before, that all takes a lot of flexibility and adaptability. Yep. That's a strength. That's an asset that the new workers can have. But what's important is that as they're flowing and as they're, adapting, that they're remaining calm, that in their body, that they're keeping a sense of centeredness, as we like to call it at the Leader Lab, that all of these new situations they're facing aren't uprooting them, that they're able to face them, maintain their center, and flow.
Right. So there are times when they need to be flexible, when they need to be be rooted and grounded, but flow. And there are times when they need to be really deeply rooted and be solid, right? Be oak.
Yeah, that is a benefit, even though it is thought of less with the younger generation, right?
Depending on whose perspective you're talking about, right? From management's perspective, they may think, I just want everybody to be flexible and go with the flow. But, if people are always just going with the flow and not speaking up for what they need, so we've heard that the new generation entering the workforce maybe speaks up too much sometimes about what they need. But we've also heard some of the people explain why they're doing that, right? It's not working for them, and they're communicating this to management, and that's a productive way of being oak, right?
Yeah,
if it's something you need or you're going to leave, it's good to express it. Another thing that we've heard talked about is new people entering the workforce, like everybody else. They want to be innovative, right? They want to use their creativity. They want to share when they know how to do something better. And sometimes you have to be rooted and, ask for permission to do something different than it's been done in the past. That would be another example of a young person in the workplace being oak. And, we've you and I have talked about, we think a really good application of embodiment in the workplace is in call centers. A lot of young people start in those jobs and they're asked to put the customer first and be polite, and they need to do that. That's an important skill. They also need to occasionally set a boundary with somebody that's being abusive, or very impolite on the phone. And of course, so being oak in that situation is just not taking abuse. You're not going to deliver it back to a customer, but you're going to put them in touch with someone else that maybe has more leeway to explain to the customer, what we do and don't do around here, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, so many new jobs are like front-facing, interacting directly with the customers. Yep. And there are so many occasions where you do need to stand firm and have that capacity. And it does start in your body and your nervous system, right?
Exactly. And a big piece of this when we're teaching it is just creating that awareness, listening to your body and creating that awareness that you've got these two different capacities to do these things. You probably remember we had a friend of mine, I'm not going to use her name here, but she was a very competent, accomplished psychologist and ran a school, and she had to be oak a lot of the time. When we did these exercises, what she said was, wow, I've always done everything oak. I've always felt like that's the only way to really get things done, but you've opened my eyes, right? By practicing what it feels like to be willow, she realized that there are times in her job when she would be more effective if she would be a little more flexible.
Yeah, that's such a good example. I remember her being in our class So that kind of brings us to our offers, right? Talking about
one more
our classes.
question before
Okay,
we go to
yes.
that. So a lot of times when we talk about Oak and Willow, we talk about the energy that we're bringing to a situation. And I like the way you talk about energy. Can you share a little bit about how you think about energy and bringing energy to a situation?
Yeah. As a Tai Chi instructor, I mean, the literature is all so full of different metaphors and references to energy, something that it's the heart of Tai Chi, really. But to explain it from kind of just a more Western, especially kind of a professional setting perspective, I think energy has a lot to do with our nervous system, how regulated our nerves are, the mood we're bringing, and also our awareness and attention. Like, where is our attention? Where your attention is, your energy is.
Right.
Like, is our attention at this task at work? Is our attention on the person we're with? That's your energy. So it's your nervous system, your emotions, your attention, and it's your body. It's how you're carrying your body and the flow and alignment within your body. And that energy, when you are aligned and you have that awareness and intention, it just really unlocks so much power and effectiveness.
Right. And when we're trying to increase people's awareness about their own energy, right, we use these two key distinctions, Oak and Willow, as kind of the place to start, right? Two opposites and how they are both relevant in the workplace and being in touch with what you're using in a particular point in time and using the right energy in the right situation.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, our listeners can learn more about Oak and Willow and about all of these embodiment skills in our offer. So click on the show notes, take a look. Helping Gen Z Thrive at Work. Our courses are going to teach you about, we're going to use skills like Tai Chi, Qigong, and other somatic exercises to help you with your awareness and your energy. And that's all rolled into our really great 3-part, each 5 weeks curriculum.
Yeah.
Right.
And, because this is both a visual and an audio podcast, those people who are watching, we'd like to show you the Oak and Willow form from Tai Chi, right? Where this concept kind of comes from and how we embody it in our classes. So Amanda is going to demonstrate Oak and Willow, and we'll see you next time.
All right. This has been Mind and Body at Work with the East Valley Leader Lab. Please click on the link in the show notes for a description of our newest offer, Helping Gen Z Thrive at Work. This is our embodiment training to help new young workers integrate into your organization.
As always, if this content resonates with you and your cares, please like, share, and or subscribe to our YouTube channel or wherever it is you get your podcast. Be well and keep moving.